Hey everybody, it's Phil. All right, I'm here. I know I'm starting a little bit early, uh, and I would hope that that's not a problem. Let's see. So, so one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to watch this on my phone. Let's see how that works. And I've got my kitty cat Lucy with me, and she has stuff to say too. Mostly in the meow variety. You all know what that's like, right? Um, let's see. So, mm, okay. So, anyways, right now I'm just mucking around with stuff. Um, I'll start the stream proper in a moment. Okay. So, oh, all right. Okay, I can see this now. And can I see my chitty chat? I can see my chitty chat. Excellent. I prefer using my phone. Okay. Um, and so before I start talking about the story proper, after all, we have 3 minutes. And then, as Journey suggested, even after those 3 minutes, you know, I should do other stuff too. I should, I should keep on, I should keep on talking. Um, and and the point of it is that people might come in late, so I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance to come in. Let's see. So a couple things. One, um, I think my streams are going to keep getting shorter and shorter. Um, and um, and the reason for that is that oh, hey McGlenn, how are you? Yeah. By the way, McGlenn, sometimes I want to call you MC Glenn, like you're an MC. I'm never sure. You know. So is it MC Glenn, or like you're an MC, or is it McGlenn, like you're Irish? Just wondering. Um, you've never corrected me, so I guess McGlenn's okay. Um, but anyways, um, I think my streams are going to be shorter because I'm going to be. Um, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I'm going to be writing. Um, well, I'm going to share even when I only have a little bit of writing. You know. Um, so previously, before my long hiatus, um, I only wanted to share if I had a good amount of content to share. You know, and the downside of that was that month-long hiatus. If I'd given myself permission to just share a little bit, to work on things a little bit at a time, um, I might have been able to stream a few times during that month. But I kept saying to myself, well, can I at least do 45 minutes? And the answer was no. Okay, okay. MC Glenn it is. All right. Um, yeah. Um, and the reason that I thought of this is because, well, partly it's because of what I did yesterday. The stream was one of the shortest ones I've had, and um, and my and today when I was responding to a student of mine, she mentioned wanting to be a novelist, but that she's going to take my composition class first, and then maybe write sometime in the future. And I'm like, kid, you gotta write now. You have to write now, and you have to write every day, even if it's every 15 minutes. I mean, even if it's only 15 minutes at a time. Oh, Zulerpi, I know I was early, and that's okay. I don't know that I said anything important. See, I'm learning. I'm learning that the early part of the stream, you know, uh, doesn't have the important stuff. So don't worry about that, brother. Okay. Um, yeah. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm telling her, like, at least try writing 15 minutes a day. And if I can't follow my own advice, what the hell am I doing giving it? You know, so I know that even when I've been at my busiest, I know that I could have written at least 15 minutes a day. It's it's at some point that kind of thing's a choice. Yeah. So um, yeah. So I'm gonna be having shorter streams, but the streams are going to occur more often. Um, and yeah, and I'm pretty happy that I finally had a breakthrough with this Lissel story. Hey, McGlenn, MC. Only I get to say that my stuff is blah blah. You know, that's a um, yeah. Anyways, um, I've been I have been worrying Lissel like like that character is a bone and I'm a dog. You know, um, trying to get at trying to get at the marrow inside this character. And one of the things that helped was collaborating with Journey, and he doesn't even realize how much he helped me. Um, yeah. So if I can go back to the Burlap Daughter, when I started making Lissel through the various drafts a more and more important character in that story, and then Journey picks up that story, and the first character he wants to draw is not Zella, the protagonist, but it's Lissel, the Gorgon, and that was an interesting choice. And he's asking me questions about her, and basically, Journey became like my audience for that story. It didn't start that way, but his reaction became very important to me. Not in the sense of, "Oh, I hope he likes it," because I knew he liked it already. I knew he liked it. Ever since I showed it to him, I've known that he liked the story. But when he wanted to work with the story, so he's looking at it from the point of view of an artist, that helped me look at these characters again a second time. And so that helped me understand Lissel a lot better. So yeah, and since I've made in the Burlap Daughter the relationship between Lissel and Zella so important, pardon me, I'm regretting the names a little bit. Now I wonder if I should change them just a little. Lissel and Zella sound, I don't know, a little too much alike. I'll think about it. Yeah, even though visually those names don't look alike. The names look like this. Well, I don't know. They're almost like anagrams of each other, I guess. Yeah. So anyways, so the breakthrough came when I realized that Lissel and Zella were going to fall in love, and and the difficulties that Lissel's condition would present. So people talk about write what you know, and you can take that too literally. Um, but um, sometimes your own experience means something. You know, like in Burlap Daughter, I you know Journey sees I think he sees Lissel as almost like an analog for himself in a way because whistle. Oh, so like it pronounced like Lissel? Well, we've been calling MC Glenn McGlenn, so things get Americanized. Um, yeah, or anglicized sometimes. Like poet Keats, um, in his poem, in the poem titled "This," Keats pronounced. By the way, Juan is my first name. Keats did not pronounce that Juan. He pronounced it Juan. And um, yeah, so it's been Americanized. Yeah. Ah, McGlenn likes a McGlenn. All right. McGlenn, Clan McGlenn or something. All right. Um, yeah. So, anyways, um, when we pick up their story, well, first of all, in Burlap Daughter, there is no overt romance, like not even a kiss or anything like that, because Zella is in no position, to have any kind of relationship like that. It's not just the way that her mom keeps her down, but just like the burlap and stuff, it just wouldn't work. And then when she gets out of it, it might seem to come out of nowhere. Here's this person rescuing her, and then they get a kiss or sex or something. Let's be clear: when Zella is rescued in Burlap Daughter, she's still horribly cut up from from uh, from what from removing the burlap. She did her best to clean herself up, but anyways, there's no what's that line? What's that line from Raiders of the Lost Ark? I think no time for love, Dr. Jones. There you go. There was no time for love in Burlap Daughter. And um, and so then I imagined that like Lissel and Zella drift apart. Like maybe maintain some kind of communication, maybe not. And in this story, and I'll tell you about it in a second. Um, they start to reconnect, um, and that reconnection is really awkward because Lissel is in a shitty spot of she's in a shitty moment of her life, and so in the same way that Zella was like a lifeline. Lissel was like a lifeline for Zella and Burlap Daughter. Now we're going to have these same characters, but as adults, and we're going to have Zella be the one who rescues Lissel. Well, again, not exactly rescues. Let's keep in mind that Zella, in essence, rescued herself. She's the one who cut off the burlap. She didn't have Lissel's help, and she's the one who walked out of her house. And but it was easier having a friend. It was easier having somebody who's got a car who's like, let's get the hell out of here. But Zella would have walked. And so Lissel is now in a really tough spot. With this terrible curse that we can see, sort of like a disease, like something like in our modern world, like AIDS in a previous generation, like leprosy, something that keeps other people away from her, because they fear it. I guess I'm thinking of AIDS, especially when it came out when it first appeared in the 80s, when people were so scared of anything having to do with somebody who had AIDS. And people do have a reason to fear Lissel. So the fact that Zella is going to be willing to reach out to her is going to be a big thing. And I figured this out when I was writing when I was writing that conclusion yesterday. And I realized, okay, I've written the conclusion, and now I have to write the beginning and middle of the story. And I don't know, like a big weight's been lifted off my shoulders because I finally have a place to go with this. So, without any further ado, the title will not be the Everglades. I'm just keeping that there to remind me of what's going on. Okay. So I'm changing the I'm changing the discovery a little bit. Okay. When Lissel and Maureen kissed, Maureen screamed. Lissel stepped back and was about to ask what was wrong, but the question seemed stupid. Maureen was choking on blood and a white powder that was quickly covering her body. Her bowels evacuated a mix of white powder, blood, and shit. The whole process took 30 seconds. Lissel cried, called 911, and put a towel over her face. When the paramedics came, she tried to explain that it was her fault, but they didn't believe her, and one of them ripped the towel away from her so he could see whether she was injured. She was fine, but he died just like Maureen. Up until that night with Maureen, Lissel had considered herself blessed. She looked like Medusa, but she didn't turn people to stone. Now she did. She had become a monster. When Lissel was born, she had little nubs on her head that soon became snakes and wings. And her skin, in addition to the brown of her parents, also had a greenish cast to it. This was in the early days of the change, and people did not know what to make of this Medusa-like child. But she was charming, smart, tough, sweet, and resilient, and she had parents who loved her. So though there were bullies and bigots, Lissel prospered. And even when her skin became scaled, like a snake's skin, during puberty, she was fine. Other people were different too, and some were worse off, like her best friend Zella, whose mother had abused her terribly. Now, this paragraph here, just in case you're curious, this is much more like summary. This is stuff that's going to be expanded. I mean, I'm going to expand everything. If you've seen me write, I start, with like the bare bones, and then I make things bigger and bigger and bigger, and stuff and stuff and stuff. That's part of the process. But some of this clearly is like, here's the summary. It's gonna be expanded. Yeah. So anyway, so that's the first part. And it's a conversation I had with Journey. What about Lissel? And by the way, I knew a woman named Lissel. That I'm trying to. She taught at another community college. That is where like the name stuck in my head. She didn't pronounce it Lissel. But yeah, I'm guessing her parents. I'm guessing was Americanized. Yeah, but anyways, let's see. What can I tell you? This becomes her discovery becomes a much more intimate thing. Her discovery of her curse, and in fact, here. There we go. See, those little details. When Lissel and Maureen kissed, Lissel tasted salt, and Maureen screamed. There you go. That. I'm really going to have to change the name of this story from The Gorgon Lissel Otherwise, there's not much surprise in that. But I like this. I like the mystery of that, you know, and knowing what we know now, that's pretty horrific. Um, nah, I appreciate that. Jalopy. Um, yeah, but one, if people pronounce it like whistle, it's not going to hurt, you know. And Lissel, whistle, that's fine. Um, yeah, because yeah, I'll just keep it as is. I think visually it looks very pretty. To be honest, that's why I don't want to add the. That's why I don't want to add the French part. Um, you know, strange little aesthetic choices. Lissel. Yeah. See, I think Lissel sounds prettier, and I think Lissel uh, is a prettier spelling than the other one. Oh, that's fine. It doesn't look. It doesn't matter. Look. Americans appropriate culture all the time. It's what we do. But this is a pretty gentle case of that. Um, but anyways, yeah. So I had to establish. I want. I wanted to establish that. Let's see. Um, I want to establish that Lissel is, either lesbian or bisexual, or as Sandra Bernhardt once said, don't judge me. I'm a people person. So there you go. So I start her off here with Marine, you know, um, and that way, the reader. By the way, starting with with a romantic scene, even one that immediately becomes a scene of horror, also lets you know as the reader, like, that this is going to be that sex or romance or both are going to be an important part of the story. You know, um, there's an interesting thing that happens with short stories and poems, and that's that you got to tell. Um, you have to be very economical as a writer. Um, so for instance, back in the Burlap Daughter, um, I did think about having a father who didn't give a shit. I mean, as Journey noted, you know, um, often when one parent is abusive, the other one is passive. And then I thought to myself, well, if he's going to be so passive, why have him in there in the first place? He's just going to take up words that could be better used for other things. Um, so, yeah, if you look at a well written short story, like, no details are extraneous. You know, um, it's easier in a novel to go off on a flight of fancy, but in a short story, um, or in a poem, at least a typical poem, um, all of the details and events work towards uh, towards the emotion that the writer is trying to create, towards the plot, towards characterization, and when something is not part of that, it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, you got to take it out. Um, yeah, see, if the now Zulerpi, it might have worked in a having a waste of space father might have worked in another story, you know, um, but um, but the way the Burlap Daughter went, I've got the mother who has this best friend who's an enabler, and then I have the daughter who has a best friend who brings out the best in her. like the opposite of an enabler. I don't even know what we call that person. Um, and and so when we have all these important female relationships, it doesn't work anymore to have an extraneous father, you know. Um, but if I made the story about the family dynamic, you know, then um, then maybe I would have cut the mom's best friend, you know. Um, but anyways, let's take a look at so that's the first part of the story. Um, okay, and then I expanded what becomes the ending. Um, Let the bugs and the gators do the rest, thought Lissel, half remembering an old country song. It was August in the Everglades, and she was tired and hot, and the air was steamy, but it would not rain. By the way, that's how it is right now. You can tell when I start a story. You can tell when I started a story by what the weather is like for my characters. Lissel was working in her garden, had been since 8 a.m., and now it was 10. Um, right now, felt foolish. Right now, she felt foolish for having bought the old country house at the last of her money, but she had to be away from people. She was strong, good with her hands, and thankfully, her curse did not affect animals. Here, she could wear nothing more than a veil rather than a whole mask, except that right now, Zella was visiting. Um, and again, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at stuff that I can expand, you know, um, and um, I can take Lissel through her garden. I can have her interact with plants and like maybe a cat that she has and like insects in the garden, you know, the dirt, all that stuff. Um, Now, should I or shouldn't I? That's a different question. And if I can make it work thematically, then I should. If not, then I should keep it as bare boned as it is. Um, but anyways, yeah. So Zella was visiting another country girl like herself, gorgeous, flaming red hair, curly and long, and gently striped, peace and tan skin, and quiet but tough, wearing nothing but a long T-shirt. Oh, yeah, boy, that sentence has got to be revised. um, yeah, because Zella appears, wearing nothing but a long T-shirt. Hey there, hot stuff, Zella said. Lissel stood up and smiled. So, so, so you're awake. Oh my goodness, I'm half stuttering reading dialogue. It's not the worst dialogue in the world, but for some reason it makes me stutter. Sorry. Um, um, are you going to let me sleep all morning? Hey, I know you like to sleep in. Yeah. Zella stepped out into the garden. The description doesn't make me stutter, but dialogue does. Very strange. All right. So yeah, Zella stepped out into the garden, walked up behind Lissel, and wrapped her arms around Lissel. She kissed Lissel on her neck. The snakes hissed, but it was more like a purr. Okay. So it's not just that it's sexy to have somebody come up behind you and put their arms around you and stuff. Um, you're going to see there's a reason for that too. This close, the scars on Zella's arms were visible, if faint, reminders of the abuse she had suffered as a child. Sorry. Lissel took off her gloves, then she wrapped her hands around Zella's hands. This is nice, Zella said. She pushed her hands against Lissel's groin. Lissel gasped. Said before he didn't have any neighbors for miles, right? Lissel felt dizzy. She'd had lovers before, but this would be the first time since her change. They'd flirted last night, had a little too much wine, went to sleep. A lot of this stuff is actually going to be in a previous scene, but I wanted to write it down because this is where I thought of it. Yeah. So they had a little too much wine, went to sleep. This was expected. Lissel stumbled forward and fell to her knees. Her veil fell. Guess what? I'm going to have to revise that short little sentence. Try saying it yourself. Her veil fell. Yeah. Sentences should not be tongue twisters, even short ones. Don't look at me. Lissel pushed her face to the ground. She could taste the dirt. Good. This is where I belong, she thought. She started crying. Then she felt a towel on her head. She wrapped the towel around her head, her snakes, her eyes. I have to be alone, Lissel said, for obvious reasons. I'm not dumb, Zella said. I know. I came up behind you. I know where your spare masks are, and I have one right here. All it takes is one mistake, Zella. One. I can't do this. Zella began to cry. Is this your life? You in this fucking swamp? You know how ridiculous that is? I don't want to kill you. Now she was sniffling too. Babe, I can wear a mask too, right? I have to see you to be affected. So I can wear a mask and you can wear a mask and we'll be okay. Yeah? Yeah. Zella helped Lissel stand up and they went inside the house. And that's pretty much the end. Maybe I'm sure I'll have a little more. And yeah, this is rough draft territory. Right now it's resolved too quickly and too easily because I haven't written the middle part of the story. So I don't know what their arguments would actually be. See, in the middle part of the story, what's going to happen is that from Lissel's point of view, she's going to give in to the temptation of having some kind of relationship with Zella, of actually seeing another living person, even though, as Lissel knows, it's dangerous. So she gives in to this temptation, and there's going to be multiple small scenes where like the danger is ramped up, where or at least in Lissel's mind it is, and you have Zella, who one of the formative experiences when she was a girl is that she essentially tortured herself to be rid of the curse of a god. So Zella's not scared of another curse from the gods. And so Zella doesn't see the danger as much as Lissel does. And that's where the tension and the conflict is going to come in. Yeah. So I'll be working on that over the next few days, and yeah, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you all on. I don't know if I'll be doing this tomorrow night. Maybe not. But if not tomorrow night, then definitely Thursday. All right. Good night, guys.